Okay, we are back at it. Welcome back to the channel, folks. In today's video, we are doing a battle between the all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Lite and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE. If you are at all familiar with Samsung tablets, then you probably know that this is the mid-range, the Tab S10 FE that is, and the S10 Lite here, I don't know what it is, but it's a tablet made by Samsung, and we are going to pit it against its own sibling. Let's go ahead and jump in. First things first, let me go ahead and shoot straight. If you are in the market for either one of these two tablets specifically, and money or budget is not a problem, then go for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE. It has, better specs, better features, a few more things that the Tab S10 Lite does not. Now that said, many of you are not necessarily looking for just a straight answer. You want to hear some of the nuances that exist between these two tablets, and we are quickly going to do that in this video. Let's go ahead and start with the design. These two tablets are literally the same tablet in terms of the build, right? If you are at all familiar with the S Lite series, or if you just have been watching the channel for a while, then you probably remember that the S Lite series has always looked something like this, right? I still have all three of them. There was the 2020 S6 Lite, which was exactly this body. There was the 2022 S6 Lite, same body, slightly different specs, and then there was the 2024, which is this model here, same body, even newer specs. Now, what Samsung decided to do was to essentially take the S10 FE series body and turn that into the new S Lite series, if that makes sense. They took this, made some changes here and there, some physical, but mostly internally, and then called it the new Tab S10 Lite as the replacement to the S6 Lite. But let's go ahead and talk about what we have here in terms of difference. The first thing you will notice, as I mentioned, is that it is going to be extremely familiar, but if you pay closer attention, you'll see that there are some slight differences here, starting off with the power button. You have a power button on either one of these two tablets, power button, volume rockers, but on the Tab S10 FE, that power button does have a fingerprint sensor embedded there. So you can use that as your physical fingerprint sensor to unlock your tablet. It is super secure, it is super fast. I absolutely love it. You don't have that on the Tab S10 Lite here. At the bottom here, you will notice that the speakers are the same, but the sound quality coming out of the S10 FE still slightly better than what you have coming out of the S10 Lite here. Slightly crisper. Then you have the USB Type-C port. Now that has remained the same, still a 2.0 USB Type-C port, so it doesn't push out video signal. And when we go to the other side, you have pogo pins on both tablets, meaning whatever accessory you have in terms of keyboards, folio case, all of that good stuff, whatever tablet or accessories you have for the Tab S10 FE here, those will be interchangeable and they are compatible with the Tab S10 Lite here. And then when you go to the top, of course, you do have the micro SD card here that will allow for you to expand the internal storage at up to 1 terabyte. That remains the same. The next thing that the S10 FE has that the S10 Lite does not is the fact that it is waterproof. Let me not call it waterproof. It is IP68 rated, meaning it is resistant to water and dust. Also, I've done some tests. I dropped this in the pool, let it sit there for a good hour and took it out, and it's still working without any issue. So you can drop the S10 FE in the pool of water. After an hour, you will be fine. But if you were to even get just a splash on the new Tab S10 Lite here, yeah, RIP to your tablet. And still sticking with the hardware here, the cameras that you have on the back there, at first glance, you might think they are the same camera, but the difference here is that on the Tab S10 FE, you have a 13 megapixel lens on the back there, as opposed to an 8 megapixel on the Tab S10 Lite there. And on the front, on the Tab S10 Lite, you have a 5 megapixel camera as opposed to a 12 megapixel camera, selfie camera on the Galaxy Tab S10 FE. So as far as cameras go, clearly the S10 FE here wins it. Camera's just better on the S10 FE. And then the rest of the physical attributes will remain about the same, right? Which is why, again, as I mentioned, the accessories are interchangeable between the two tablets. With all of this said, as far as design goes, neither tablet takes it because it's the same tablet, right? So no one wins here. Now let's go ahead and move on to performance, specs and performance. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE here is going to come in two different configs. The base config is 128 gigs of internal storage with 8 gigs of RAM, or you can go to the next config, which is 256 gigs of internal storage with 12 gigs of RAM. The S10 Lite, on the other hand, does come with a base internal storage of 128 gigs, of course, which is pretty neat also, except you have 6 gigs of RAM, or you could go for the next config at 256 with 8 gigs of RAM. It is also loaded with a Samsung Silicon, which is the Exynos 1380. It's a 5 nanometer chip, right? As opposed to what you have on the S10 FE here, which is a 4 nanometer platform here, which is an Exynos 1580. And in my comparison or in my testing, there definitely is a noticeable difference between the two in terms of processing power. The S10 FE is definitely faster, would render video slightly faster than the S10 Lite here. Multitasking here would also be slightly better on the S10 FE. Even gaming, right? Gaming seems to be better. I don't know if it was just me, but heavy gaming, slightly better here. That doesn't mean that the Galaxy Tab S10 FE is supposed to be for heavy gaming. What I'm saying is that during my test, I found the Tab S10 FE to be better in terms of performance, right? Light, moderate, and even heavy tasks definitely handle better on the Tab S10 FE as opposed to the Tab S10 Lite, which of course is normal. And still sticking with performance here, you do have Android 15 on either one of these two with One UI 7 sitting on top of these since they're launched. It works pretty well, right? Pretty decent at processing tasks. Like I said, this is a budget tablet. The S10 Lite here is a budget / mid-range tablet, right? Versus the Tab S10 FE here, which is simply a mid-range tablet. So the expectation here is that the S10 FE is going to do better, which is also why I said that if money is not an issue and you are in the market for either one of these two, the S10 FE is the way to go. So as far as specs and performance goes, clearly the S10 FE here is the winner. There's no question about that, even though it dropped a good 5-6 months ago. Anyways, moving on to the next point here, which is going to be the battery. As I mentioned earlier, the battery is going to be 8,000 milliamp hour for either one of these two tablets. Now, I just got the S10 Lite here. I can't say that it's been long enough for me to give you a full, breakdown, a full detailed breakdown on what the battery is going to be like. But I anticipate that it's going to do just as well as the S10 FE has been doing. It's the same size. Sure, the S10 FE probably has a little bit more optimization that it can do compared to the S10 Lite here, but overall, I'm thinking it's still going to be an all-day tablet, right? Especially if you buy this with the purpose of using it as it's supposed to be used, a budget tablet or budget / mid-range tablet. If you're not just using it as a full-blown power user, you should be fine for the entire day. The charging is, on the other hand, capped on the S10 Lite here at 25 watt versus the S10 FE, which is capped at 45 watt, meaning you'll be able to charge the S10 FE here going from 0 to 100% at almost double the speed of what the S10 Lite here requires or caps its speed at. So that's that. And also keep in mind that generally battery life is subjective, right? It depends on how you use the tablet and all that good stuff. So don't always rely on people to tell you what your battery life should be like. As long as it's a decent sized battery, which in either case it is, know that it all going to depend on how you use your tablet. So as far as battery goes, I'm just going to say that it's a draw. It's the same size battery. Sure, you have a little bit more optimization on the S10 FE here, but I'm just going to say they're about the same. Now let's go ahead and move on to the S Pen here. I don't have much to say about the S Pen. It is essentially the same one. Actually interchangeable. You could use the S Pen from the 10 Lite here on the FE, no issues. It does the same thing. It's not an active pencil, so you don't have to charge it. You take it out, the tablet, the box, and it just starts working. Just like it is the case on the S10 FE, you could keep it on the side here, or you could put it on the back here. But I have to warn you that on the back here, the magnet is not that strong. So it doesn't hold as tight as it does on the side for the S10 Lite. On the S10 FE, on the other hand, whether it be on the back or on the front here, it is pretty tight. It holds it pretty steady when compared to the S S10 Lite. So you have to keep that in mind. Jotting down notes, super nice. It feels natural to the hand here. I've always loved just a soft touch of the S Pen, in general. So no different here. Now let's talk display here. Starting off with the S10 FE here, we have an IPS LCD. It does support 90 Hertz refresh rate, which is fantastic. Things are super smooth. You're gonna enjoy consuming content here, watching movies, playing games, and all of that good stuff. The resolution is 1440 by 2304, I believe, which means that the PPI is roughly 250. So pretty sharp image quality there, and colors really do pop here. And again, as I mentioned, very smooth when playing games or just scrolling through navigation and all that good stuff. On the other hand, what we have on the Tab S10 Lite is a TFT display. It also does support 90 Hertz refresh rate, which is pretty nice. So it is pretty smooth scrolling through, navigation, playing games, and all that good stuff. Pretty neat. The resolution here is lower than what you have on the S10 FE at 1320 by 2112, and the PPI is even lower when compared to the S10 FE. So overall, the display is just better on the S10 FE. It's also brighter on the S10 FE here in my experience, and also seems to be on the cooler side as opposed to the S10 Lite here, which seems to be on the warmer side. I don't know, that could be me. But anyway, so overall, as far as display quality, the S10 FE here definitely takes it. Now, I don't think I need to keep going in order for you to see where this is leaning. The S10 FE here clearly is the better tablet, but that doesn't mean that it is a tablet for you, right? If you're in the market for either one of these two tablets, you probably are looking to buy a tablet for some reason, right? What are the reasons you would like to buy a tablet? If you add those in the comment section, either myself or the community will help you figure out which one to go for. But while doing that, let me just go ahead and give you my verdict here, right? If you are in the market for either one of these two tablets, as I mentioned at the beginning, just buy the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE. Now, if you want something that's going to be a little bit cheaper so you could save some money off your budget, then go for the Tab S10 Lite here. If you want something that has a little bit more power, then maybe consider some of the previous gen flagships, right? Like the Tab S9, maybe even the S8. Who knows? You can find those much cheaper price. I'm going to have some links in the description either way if you want to go ahead and pick up either one of these or any of the previous ones. Now, with all of these said, we've seen that the S10 FE here beats the S10 Lite in pretty much every category, but we had a couple of instances where I said that they're about the same simply because it's the same body. Now, that said, keep in mind, of course, that even though it's the same body, you do have some features that are not non-existent on here. Both displays are 10.9 inches. So I'm just going to put it this way. If you are a student, if you are a small business owner, or even a creator who doesn't do heavy editing per se, because if you're doing heavy editing, I would say, look at iPads and things like that. So if you're one of those people, just buy yourself the Galaxy Tab S10 FE. It's going to offer you a little bit more. But if you are more of a casual user, just want something where you can enjoy a larger screen real estate as opposed to your phone, you're going to be maybe lounging on the couch, watching a couple of movies, things like that, then go for the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. Again, as I mentioned, it all depends on what you're looking for. Make sure to add any questions you may have in the comment section. The community is always here to help you, and I'm always here also whenever I can to try to help you, pull the trigger on whatever tablet is going to be best for you. So make sure to like this video. Make sure to share if you know anyone who will be interested. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure to hit that subscribe button there. I truly appreciate that. So catch you in the comment section. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.